will suck. So let's start with a guy that we showed last week because he has amazing legs and ass, and that is A.J. Dillon for the Packers. He just keeps popping up on the internet, mostly because of that. The lower half is so solid. But what have you seen even more recently from the video for A.J. Dillon?
Well, like, I think what first off, yeah, his size pops off to you, to me, to everybody. I mean,
yes,
you're hearing all the Green Bay players. I mean, they're all joking about it, laughing about it. But the thing that I think is going to impress, and just even what I've seen a little, he's a very smooth athlete. And I know that, too, because I saw him in person with Boston College and Notre Dame. For a big guy, he's got very good body control. Not that he's, like, ultra quick with movements as far as, like, breaking ankles, but can change direction very smoothly. I mean, there's just a gracefulness in which he can do that and, get his body going one way to where, again, I think everybody's excited about him just because of the compliment he is to Aaron Jones, and they haven't had anything like that as far as that type of power running back up there. I don't know, since Najee Davenport, that might be the last running back they had of this kind of caliber.
Yeah, and helping the offense, anything they can do to help Aaron Rodgers make him feel a lot better after they drafted a quarterback to replace him would be a good idea. So A.J. Dillon's a guy that you liked, watching him at Boston College. I know you really liked Cam Akers, and the Rams have a couple that are really interesting to me because you really liked Van Jefferson, who didn't get a whole lot of hype out there because I think a lot of people didn't think his ceiling was that high. But so far in practice, there have been rave reviews about Van Jefferson. And for Cam Akers, I'm reading this thing that Jalen Ramsey said. He goes, I missed the chance to play with Cam Akers at FSU, but he is easily becoming one of my favorite teammates already. So those are two for the Rams that, at least so far, look pretty good.
Well, I know we talked on Monday. I believe that was Monday when we talked about camp battles. And I know I said I think Cam Akers will be the guy.
Yes.
Yeah, I got a cheat sheet, too. I saw Cam Akers in person 2 years ago. He's an NFL stud. I knew that when he was on the field at Notre Dame. I kept going, damn, this guy, he's gonna be a 1,000-yard rusher in the league at some point. He's built like an NFL stud, and he has, like, special explosion to the hole and through the hole. So I think he'll be the guy because of, like, again, what we talked about, too, with that zone scheme running. Remember when I got up on Monday and you couldn't see my head and that side? Like, that fits Cam Akers. Oh, you want me to stretch it out, coach? And then when I see a lane, you want me just to put my foot in the ground and run like a bat out of hell through it? He's made to do that. That's what he did at Florida State. So I expect big things from him. And then Van Jefferson was one of the great early round picks of the draft. Man, yeah, you lose Brandon Cooks. But, man, it takes the edge off the fact that you have Van Jefferson. Van Jefferson, I know we talked about this a little during the draft process, is as polished, the most polished wide receiver I've seen come out of college football. I mean, he's in that discussion. His dad is an NFL coach for the New York Jets. Mm-hmm. He ran routes better than anybody I saw in college football. I mean, it was high-level route running, as far as what they asked him to do, the techniques in which he did it, and then he's physically gifted to stick his foot in the ground and explode out of the cut and do those things. In
a weird way, some teams probably saw that as a negative, though, Chris,
probably.
Because they thought, he doesn't have a whole lot of room to grow. He already is what he is.
Right.
And maybe that's not good enough.
Well, you're right. There are. Like Seattle probably would go, that's not our kind of guy, as we've talked about. But New Orleans, the Rams, the teams that know how to utilize the slot receiver to his truest form, they love that shit because those are two coaches who will be like, well, I know how to devise 6 and 7 yard completions all day long. If my guy here is just smart and can run a good route, we'll never have him covered. And that's what's really cool about the Rams because they really have 3 of those guys. So, I love that aspect of an offense when you have 3 guys that are interchangeable, they can kind of do everything. Maybe not overly great at one thing, but really good at all things, that can lead to a very dangerous offense. And I think he's going to fit their scheme very well. And because he's so polished and NFL game ready and everything like that, I think he'll have a big part of that offense, early on in the year.
So the Rams may have hit on a couple there with Akers and Jefferson. It seems like you've learned a lot about these players by watching them in college covering Notre Dame, including this next guy. And Joe Hayden is learning what you have learned about Chase Claypool. He tweeted out, he's going to be a problem. You heard it from me first. No, we didn't hear it from you first, because we heard it from Chris Simms first, who said that Chase Claypool is going to be a problem, but he is looking good in practice so far, apparently.
Yeah, well, I know I sound like, a recording, but I'm just going to say this one more time. Very few people I've ever seen at the wide receiver position look and have the physical attributes and have the physical ability that Chase Claypool has. I mean, it's special. I've been covering Notre Dame for 3 years. I haven't seen one receiver on the field in Chase Claypool's class since I've been covering Notre Dame for 3 years. They've been playing a lot of damn good teams still, just so everybody knows out there. So the guy, I know you've heard me say before, like, he's built like Brandon Marshall. That's what he's built like. Except he's faster and more explosive than Brandon Marshall, which is scary. He has superstar potential. He could be this year's DK Metcalf and maybe even more because, Pittsburgh does have a Juju Smith-Schuster, and Big Ben is one of the great deep ball throwers. And I think Pittsburgh's offense is a little more creative than Seattle's altogether. But I'm not shocked to hear about this, and I heard about this a little already. I had heard inklings out of Rams camp. I've heard inklings just from a few people I trust in Pittsburgh that, they know I like Chase Claypool, and your boy's killing it out here. I've gotten a little bit of that. So I'm not surprised. And I think really if Pittsburgh, which I think like we do like, best case, worst case for teams during PFT, my best case was like, Pittsburgh could be in the Super Bowl. I don't think that's crazy. Their defense is a Super Bowl defense. If Big Ben's healthy, and, of course, the big thing will be a guy like Chase Claypool or one of these young receivers in a James Washington or Deontay Johnson is going to have to significantly jump on the scene to help out their offense. And I expect it to be Chase Claypool. I expect him to be the go-to big-time playmaker receiver for the offense.
He was the 11th wide receiver taken in the draft. He was second round, 49th overall pick. So what are other people seeing that you don't believe is true with Chase Claypool? Why was he down?
Yeah, well, I think people were down because of, like, production, right? All right?
Sure.
Last year was his only real year of production, and it was a good year. But it'd be one of those things where I push back a lot, too, and go, wait, have you really dug into the film? Because if you're just looking at his receptions and just doing that, yeah, you're going to go, man, I like this. What you need to do is look at all his routes, because if he had a quarterback in Notre Dame that was a little more aggressive and threw the ball down the field, they left 500-600 yards on the field this year. I mean, I almost said it every week during Notre Dame. Be more aggressive, Ian Book, because Chase Claypool was open a whole lot more than what he got the ball. But I think it is the 1 year of production. Got in the doghouse a little at Notre Dame a little bit, and what I even tried to tell a few friends in the NFL, because I had started having people towards the end of the draft process start to ask me about Chase Claypool. Like, hey, dude, you might be onto something with this Chase Claypool. We just kind of did a deeper dive into it, and, you might be right what you said about him 3, 4, 5 weeks ago. And, it's always good to hear those things. But I think
why did you doubt me at all? Why wouldn't I have been right?
Well, they probably have reasons to doubt me at some point. But I think the rawness, getting in the doghouse, only 1 year of being the go-to guy in the pass game, he's from Canada. That led people to be like, ooh, I don't know. And that's what I told a lot of my friends in the NFL. I said, this is a good kid. He's from Canada. He was a little bit of a culture shock, I think, when he first got to Notre Dame and trying to find his way in the world. And I also told them, like, he got in the doghouse, but the doghouse for Notre Dame is like, it's a different. They put people in the doghouse at Notre Dame where nobody even would have said something to us in Texas. I mean, they would have been like, oh, just a normal day, huh? And I'm like, yeah. So there's a different rule of strictness there. I mean, Notre Dame, they're strict as hell. You miss like a class, they like, well, you missed practice. You can't practice today. You missed the class. No, we
Where
didn't
some
have
other
those
schools,
rules.
you go to a class, they're like, wow, you really didn't need to do that. It could take away from your football.
Oh, exactly. Well, that's the schedule I was on. Sorry, but that's the schedule. I was school. What? I need to go watch film, and I have a football game this weekend.
Yeah.
School can wait till the winter.
Prioritize,
All right.
yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry to say that, but that's just
That
the
makes
truth
sense.
of the matter.
No, it makes sense. So he was the 11th wide receiver taken. The number 1 wide receiver taken was from the Raiders at 12, Henry Ruggs the third. And everything you keep saying on Twitter, Instagram, social media out there is this dude is fast, and John Gruden's going to enjoy using him quite a bit.
Yes. I mean, Gruden's got a million plays to get a guy like this off, and that's the phrase Gruden would use. Like, you say this guy run, I got to get him off. It's my job to get him off. And well, he does. He'll have a lot of ways. Yeah.
Did anyone tell him that could be perceived differently?
Two different ways? Yeah.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. Why? Where was your mind going? Get your mind out of the gutter.
I'm just saying, like, he's saying that. It's just like if people could go with it. I don't know.
Yeah, well, getting him off football-wise, which means lots of yards and touchdowns,
yes,
that's getting
correct.
off in the football world, right?
I figured that. Yes, I figured that.
Seeing all the things you're seeing on social media, have texted with a few people from the Raiders. Like, he's killing it there. They're excited about what they got. They love the football player. And, again, I think Gruden, knowing him and how much he wanted this type of guy, he is going to have, like, a special place on his play sheet that is going to be, Henry Ruggs plays. Whether that's throwing deep posts, wide receiver screens, the reverses, the speed sweeps, all of that. He is going to have his own special category just for that guy because I think he thinks he's going to be a special part of that offense and obviously can do some things that, nobody else on their team can do with that speed.
Yeah. It's going to be so interesting to see this whole rookie wide receiver class because we've talked it up so much and how deep it is, and it might be the deepest one with some high-end talent. It's going to be interesting to see how they produce year number 1. Let me throw another one at you. KJ Hamler with the Broncos, and he's already getting some praise from AJ Bouye, right? It's Bouye.
Yeah, right.
Correct? Where's the quote? Here's the quote. Being in the league for a while, I've seen a lot of rookie receivers come in. It seems like they don't have it figured out. He said, you look at those two, that's Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler, and you can tell whether it's the offseason coaching they've had outside, they're real polished in routes, especially Jeudy. He never gives you the same look every time. I'm loving going against him. He's going to keep me true to my technique. And so praise from the defensive backs in Denver so far for both those receivers, including KJ Hamler.
Yeah, well, Judy's a slick route runner. We talked about that a lot, during the process. I mean, he is. Like a Van Jefferson, they were pros, their last year in college. Like great route running pros in college. It's very rare to have that. So Jeudy, yes, he understands how to set up a DB, how to give him the different looks, how to make them, hey, I did this 3 times in a row. I'm going to do it again, but this time I'm going to throw a curveball and go somewhere else. He understands the psychological part of playing receiver and setting up DBs, which is very impressive. And Hamler, not the route runner, but just the explosive nightmare. And I have no inside info on him yet or anything like that to where I could just say, oh, yeah, I'm hearing that out of Denver. But you know how much I liked him in the draft. The only reason I don't think he was a first rounder is he had drops, which, again, where I want to say, like, I know drops. It's a wide receiver, and they're supposed to catch the ball. But when you have a guy that's playing quarterback who is very inconsistent with the timing of the throws, and you're open 5 plays in a row and he doesn't throw to you, and then you're covered for 4 plays in a row and he does throw to you, and then when he does throw to you, he's throwing wobbling knuckleballs at you and things like that, it all messes with the psyche of a wide receiver. So I know his hands were a little bit less than coming out. I get that. But I do attribute it a little bit to the offense and the quarterback he's with. I saw enough high-level catches to where I went, this guy doesn't have bad hands. This is just like a concentration issue or keeping him in a rhythm of the game. But, I would just be shocked if he doesn't have a big role on this offense. Not to say he's going to, lead the team in receiving, but I think he's going to have high average yards per catch, and he's going to be that home run hitter for that that offense to where he's taking the top off to get the other guys open.
Could be the reason they win a couple of games out there. Just a couple of huge plays
Definitely.
for KJ Hamler. Wouldn't put it past him to do that with the speed that he has. How about this for the Bears? They didn't have a whole lot of draft capital, but they used their top pick on Cole Kmet, the tight end out of Notre Dame, another Notre Dame guy that you've spent a lot of time watching. Here's a quote from their tight ends coach in Chicago. Said, "I would say Cole is on schedule, if maybe not a tick ahead of schedule. Not to make it sound too grand, but I have zero concerns about Cole Kmet. I really do." So it seems like what they've seen so far from Cole Kmet in Chicago, they really, really like.
Well, he's a hell of a player, a hell of a specimen. And then, added to that, he's coming from a school that, hey, their offensive linemen and their tight ends, they're coached like pros. They are. I mean, Notre Dame's run game is, a lot more advanced than most college teams that I've covered over the years and compared to Notre Dame. They do a lot of stuff. And he's a really good run blocker. And I think they're going to try to make him their Travis Kelce or George Kittle or whatever it may be. But Matt Nagy, of course, runs that Kansas City Andy Reid offense to where I think Cole Kmet, people are sleeping on him. If you want to give me fantasy advice from me or somebody like that, especially if Nick Foles plays, I think he's going to find Cole Kmet to be a very quarterback-friendly target, down the middle of the field. And I think he's going to open up a lot of eyes this year in Chicago.
Okay, here's the counter to that. Pete makes a good point. He might be impactful, but he wonders, is tight end the toughest offensive position to make an impact as a rookie? Even Gronk had 543 yards as a rookie. Jimmy Graham had 356 yards as a rookie. And he threw a pop quiz at you here. You ready?
Yeah.
Who is the only rookie tight end in NFL history to get 1,000 receiving yards? There's only been one. I didn't know
only one rookie tight end ever to get 1,000 receiving yards. Is it? Let me just say that. Let me ask this: is it past 1980 or before 1980?
Pre-1980. I'll give you the year: 1961.
Damn.
Any idea?
I mean, is that Mackey from the Colts?
It's not Mackey from the Colts. His name.
Not Ditka.
It is Mike Ditka, 1961.
That's amazing.
He's the only rookie tight end in NFL history to get 1,000 receiving yards. And so is tight end the toughest position to make a big impact? I mean, does he have a chance to do something, maybe not 1,000, but get up around 700 yards?
I would think so. The Jimmy Graham factor is going to play into that.
Sure.
As much as I say Notre Dame is, NFL ready and that stuff, the calls he's going to make at the line of scrimmage here with the Chicago Bears and the things he has to read in the pass game, all those are more intricate and detailed than college football ever is. So it is a learning process. And tight end, because you have to learn so much about the run game and then the pass game, there's more in their brain than maybe a wide receiver or a DB who's a first or second round pick, right? There's a lot of nuance to the tight end position. That would probably be my reasoning just off the top of my head of why it's hard for those guys to just come in and take over, let alone I feel like it's a position where the coaches need to see you play for a year, and then they start to realize, oh, wait, we could do this with this guy. And,
sure.
we should utilize this formation more because it helps the tight end out and all of that. But I think Kmet's going to have a great deal to do with the success of the Bears. Run game, pass game, even in the red zone. I mean, him and Jimmy Graham, they could get in a 2 tight end set with a fullback, or even a 3 tight end set with a fullback and a tailback, and you think they're in goal line. And then all of a sudden Nick Foles goes, shift. And now 1 tight end stays in there. They're still in the I form, but now it's Jimmy Graham and Cole Kmet on the outside. You could throw a fade to them if it's one-on-one, or maybe you could still run the ball if they're worried about how big they are and they're doubling those guys. So they're gonna pose some matchup issues down there that I think is going to help the Bears out a whole lot too.
So in terms of rookie offensive players, I'm going to move Cole Kmet up my fantasy football cheat sheet just a little bit here.
You should.
Although normally I don't draft Chicago Bears just because of my
Yeah.
Detroit Lions allegiance, so maybe I might have to make an exception there. But I'm moving way up another running back or another rookie running back out here, a rookie running back, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And he has gotten a lot of praise. You've talked about him before the draft. Even before he was drafted by Kansas City, you said the perfect team that could get him is the Kansas City Chiefs, and they got him at the end of the first round. Here's the quote, Chris, from Patrick Mahomes. Clyde has done a great job in the reps that he has gotten. He's playing fast, has incredible vision. That's what's been the biggest thing so far. So he's praising his vision from what he's seen so far in practice.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know we've hit on this. This is the ultimate, perfect player scheme mix. And then the player is like really freaking good too. I think that's the big thing. And, first off, his vision is off the charts. I mean, off the charts. Never missed a hole. Never missed a cutback lane at LSU. He'd be in a mosh pit of guys and stop and reverse and cut this way. And you'd be like, how did he even see that? There's like 4 guys around him and he's 5'8", So, but to me, I mean, yeah, this is why I said it in the pre-draft process. This is an offense, again, like a McVay, a Sean Payton, Andy Reid. It's the pure West Coast offense. John Gruden, you're going to see this with Jacobs last year. It all comes back to Roger Craig and their ability to use the running back in the pass game. And Andy Reid's about as good as it gets in that department, let alone we've talked about the formula in which they're, aggressive down the field. Oh, Tyreek, Sammy, defense is running back. Oh, we got to worry about the bomb. Oh, shit. He threw the ball 5 yards underneath the Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Now we got to run and tackle and rally against this guy in space. Yeah, good luck with that there, okay? So that's where, he's got Rookie of the Year written all over him. Because they're going to win games. And I think he's going to put up a lot of good stats in certain weeks in the run game and pass game alike because their team and their formula and their scheme all fit what he can do best.
Certainly doesn't hurt for him that Damian Williams opted out of the 2020 season, so he will be the guy in the run game, the pass-catching game out of the backfield as well. There, and the Lions' DeAndre Swift reports out of there. He's been uncoverable is what they're saying, the Detroit beat writers, Chris.
I'm not shocked. He's got that, not to Clyde Edwards-Helaire's, a total top ability, but has that ability that's very close to break people's ankles, make people miss, really run sharp routes out of the backfield. And, I think Kerryon Johnson's going to be the more talented runner there in Detroit. But I think DeAndre Swift will carve out his game as that third down back, that screen back. He's going to get some carries. But I think that more than likely they're going to want to formulate more pass game around him and more run game, around Kerryon Johnson. My big thing here is with this, though, would be Andy Reid has a history and a system that knows how to utilize the running back. Darrell Bevell, on the other hand, I don't know if he does. So that'll be interesting for me to see. That's not been a part of his offense usually, finding ways to throw the ball to the back out of the backfield. And maybe this is Matt Patricia's influence on him going, why wouldn't you? James White had 97 million catches while I coached there. And we tormented teams underneath with linebackers versus running backs one-on-one and things like that. And I would think, especially this first year, that'll be DeAndre Swift's bread and butter. Will be to come in the pass game, create a mismatch, take advantage of that, and make something happen after the catch.
Let me give you 3 more rookies who have impressed so far. And on the defensive side here, Chris, we got the Falcons, A.J. Tyrell versus Julio Jones. Isn't there a video out there of him going up against Julio Jones and not getting dominated, which is like, that's a victory in and of itself right there, but actually making a play.
Yeah, no, and then there's a video from last weekend of him going up and getting an interception in practice. To me, again, A.J. Tyrell, I loved him coming out in the draft. But here's a guy that he's with the team, playing the Seattle scheme. He's going to be asked to play man-to-man, which is what he did all the time at Clemson, but now he's going, wait, this 3-deep, press bail zone coverage, man, this is pretty cool. This is a little easier than having to cover people man-to-man all the time. So, again, I think it's the perfect match of a guy's body type and skill set, fit the scheme, and then some, where he's going to be able to, like Atlanta for the first time in a while, is going to be able to go like, wait, we need somebody to match up with Michael Thomas on 3rd and 4 this week. We can't play the Seattle scheme all the time because Drew Brees and Sean Payton have too many plays to where they know how to pick it apart. AJ Terrell is going to be able to be that guy, which is going to be a nice curveball for that Atlanta defense. They haven't had that. Not that type of guy. So, yeah, and then we see Julio catch a ball on AJ Terrell, and I go, oh, that's cool. Nice throw by Matt Ryan. I also I look at the whole thing and go, I like that coverage. I mean, that was damn good coverage on Julio Jones. Yeah, it was a perfect pass, and Julio's one of the greatest of all time, but I think that's only going to help him too. The fact that he'll get to guard Julio Jones every day in practice, right? Man,
that's like the weightlifter that throws on an extra 25 pounds to see if he can get it. And then when you take it off, you're like, oh, wow, this is super easy. I can do 175 like it's nothing.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah, he's going to most receivers he's going to play in football, he's going to go, well, shit, this is easier than practice. So
yes,
I like this. And it is. It's going to build confidence in his game.
So 16th overall pick for AJ Terrell coming out of Clemson. You liked him a whole lot. We didn't talk a lot about the safety that the Patriots took with the 37th overall pick, Kyle Duggar, who I still have no idea where this college is. Do you remember the college that he went to?
Lenoir-Rhyne, right? Lenoir-Rhyne?
Lenoir-Rhyne. Where is that?
I have no idea. None.
It might not exist. Like, honestly, if you told me, like, it's actually a made-up college and they created their own football player at a made-up college and Bill Belichick this is a robot playing for him, I would be like, that's actually a pretty good point. North Carolina, Pete says. Pete has chimed in with that's in North Carolina. But so far, so good with Kyle Duggar and the New England Patriots.
Well, he's a freak. I mean, I'm not shocked. I'm not. I think, in the draft process, I believe I had Antoine Winfield Jr., Xavier McKinney, number 2, and I believe I made Duggar my number 3 safety, even though, it wasn't easy because you're going, man, who is he playing here? What is this team? Right. Is this Ahmed Fareed he's tackling in space? Maybe. I don't know if that –
it could have been.
I'm not sure to give that a good grade or a bad grade. I don't know what to say there. I mean, it's easy to tackle that guy in space, but,
I agree.
It was hard evaluations. But, again, I think this is another one almost like the Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Like the perfect guy for the perfect scheme and everything that goes along with it. Again, Belichick loves these type. And this is a guy that I would think would take over a little bit of that Patrick Chung role. They're going to ask him to match up against the Kelseys of the world when they play man-to-man. Linebacker, strong safety. What is he doing on this play? Is he playing more of a strong safety? Is he going to get out of there? Is he going to be playing more of a linebacker here? Or is he going to get out of here and drop into the traditional safety spot? All those things. I'm interested to see him when the Bullets do go live because he was a guy that was a specimen, it looked like. But, he was playing against lesser competition. Sounds like he's smart. That's the one thing I heard about him in this process. Which, if you got talent and smarts up in New England, that could be a damn good combo.
So you went Antoine Winfield Jr. is your number 1. He went Xavier McKinney 2, Julian Blackmon 3. Kyle Duggar was 4 for you, and you had Ashton Davis 5. So
gotcha.
Kyle Duggar 4.
Forgot
so your
Julian
number 1
Blackmon,
guy, your number 1 guy, Antoine Winfield Jr., he dropped in the draft, right? He fell down a little bit, went farther down than we expected, but Bruce Arians is liking that he did. He said, quote, he's an intelligent player. It's not too big for him. He'll be competing for a starting job quickly. So they think he's on the fast track there in Tampa.
Yeah, I would go more of like, I would be shocked if he is not starting in Tampa. I really would. But like for Bruce Arians to say those type of things, this early about a rookie, I think that just tells you how impressive he is. And plus, they have nothing other than Whitehead at safety, I think. that's anybody that's a proven NFL safety commodity other than him on the roster. Everybody is like, oh, yeah, he's played a little. This guy was on that team for a little. I just would be surprised if he doesn't get out there and get in that starting role. I really would be.
So we'll continue to monitor social media. Those are the rookies who have popped so far. From what we can tell.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.